Tips for handling your disability case. Listen to either yourself or your representative. Here's what I mean by that. When you go to apply for disability benefits, this is your case. Let me explain something to you. It is your case. It is not someone else's case. You cannot compare it to someone else's case. Your track is going to go different. The person who's handling your case is probably different from the person who handles somebody else's case. Ultimately, this is your case. A lot of times what happens when people apply for disability benefits, they're heading into uncharted waters. They've gone into an area that they're not used to dealing with. Most people, there's no life plan for how to apply for disability benefits. So why do I say either listen to yourself or your representative? Because the peanut gallery tends to get bigger when we're going into something we've never gone into, and we turn to others who have insight into it. In other words, we turn to others that we, by our own admission, have de facto made them an expert. Now, that's going to sound kind of hunky, but listen to me when I say this. If you've never been through the disability process, somebody who's been through it may seem like an expert to you because they've been through it. But they're only an expert as it relates to their case. They can't tell you about what's going to happen with your case, because everything is different. Now, mind you, there are going to be a lot of similarities, and they're going to say, oh yeah, I went through that. Oh, they sent me to a doctor. Yeah. But a lot of times what happens is that if somebody's experiences were really negative, they're going to tell you about their negative experiences, which you may be using as a foundation for yours. Same thing if it's a positive experience. If they got approved in 3 months and 5 months later you still haven't, they're going to wonder what's going on. They're going to put things into your mind in an already stressful situation and make it worse. And it gets even tougher because a lot of times you're so busy focused on, think about it. When you're applying for disability, you've got 3 things going. You're focused on your health, you're focused on your living situation, and you're focused on your case. That's a lot to have on your plate. Think about it. You're focused on your health. You want to improve your condition so that you can either, 1, prove that you're disabled, or 2, show, hopefully show that you're making every attempt to improve your situation. And 3, you're going to the doctor to hopefully feel better. That's one thing. Secondly, your living situation. You're not working. And if you're the primary breadwinner in your home, now you're in this wild situation where you're trying to figure out how are you going to survive while you're waiting for this thing to shake. Then you've got your disability application. So you've got to worry about getting all the paperwork that they need, all the stuff that it's just a nightmare. And then what ends up happening is what? You end up listening to people who swear they know what's going on, but really they don't have a freaking clue. So it's important that you remember this. Listen to yourself, because this is your case. Don't let all these extra people get in your ear. You know, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, you know, boyfriends, girlfriends, aunties, uncles, nephews, grandmas, granddads, whatever the case may be, because all these people are giving you their 2 cents to what they know. They don't know as much as they think they know. So this is why I tell you, listen to yourself. If you've got some concerns, contact Social Security. If you decide to hire someone to represent you, let them represent you or go get somebody else. Let me tell you why I say that. Same context. Listen, you are well within your rights to seek consultation if there's something going on with your representative that you're not totally sure about. But don't start going to everybody and their mama. Don't go to 4 or 5 different attorneys because you want to make sure that your attorney's doing it right. Because what you basically do is you want to validate that your representative is doing what they're supposed to do. So you're going to all these other people to say, well, my representative is doing this. Are they doing it right? Well, I'm not going to answer that question for you. And yes, I get that a lot where people come to me and I say, listen, you're within your right to get a consultation. But a lot of times, you know what happens? The representatives will do something. You won't go back to your representative for clarification. What you'll do is you'll go to 5 and 6 different other people to assist you. Happens all the time. I can tell you a few years back, several years ago, I think when I just started practicing, I was representing a gentleman. Great case. I mean, spectacular case. And I knew that he drew a very favorable judge. I was about 99% confident he would be approved very easily, which he was. We walked in the door, the judge asked 2 or 3 questions, approved, and we walked out. I knew that going in. But I don't like making any unrealistic expectations because the simple fact is I didn't have, nothing. For 99% of my confidence, it was a 1% chance. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to put that in your mind because most people aren't going to focus on the 99%. They're going to focus on the 1% time you screw up. And ethically, the bar rules prohibits me from creating any unrealistic expectation. So even though I had a confidence that based on the medical evidence that I was looking at and the great judge they pulled, I was not going to impart into my client's mind that, hey, this is a lock. We got this. I needed to prepare myself for the possibility and prepare my client for the possibility that we might lose. Okay? Well, his brother was a seasoned civil litigator, like had been practicing for like 20 years. And I think I had only been doing this for a couple of years. When I tell you he questioned everything I did, because the reality is that he was looking at it from an adversarial civil litigation standpoint. A lot more hurdles than a non-adversarial administrative. So I knew how to maneuver in this. I had very great, at the time, especially when I was there, my numbers were very high. I mean, I had a great approval rating, and I took pride in the fact that I prepared my clients, as I do now, and the file was always prepared. It helped that I was working for someone that their office had a very great reputation for making sure that files were developed accordingly in terms of preparing them for the hearing. So I had everything I needed, but he gave me fits, meaning he wanted to be on the phone with me every time I called his brother. When I was preparing the client for his hearing, he decided he was going to set the tone for how I was going to prepare. And of course, I was like, we're not going to do it like this. And he did not particularly care for me, to the point where he complained about me to my supervisor. And I think he clowned a couple more times. We went to the hearing, won the case, never heard from the client was very happy, but they never called me. Never called to apologize, never called anything like that. Somebody's probably saying, hey, Reeves, all these years, you still a little touched by it? Yeah. I'm touched mainly because it taught me a very powerful lesson, because what happens is that when you are applying for disability benefits, you are vulnerable. Let's call it like it is. There's no one has a life plan for applying for disability benefits. And when you're vulnerable, you're looking for help. And it's tough when you take your case and put it in the hands of a third party and say, hey, help me out. And a lot of times there are times when you want to talk to someone. You want to reach out, which is one of the reasons why I do a lot of these videos. Because you know what? For some people who ask me questions a million times, they just want somebody who's going to listen. Just listen to what's going on with them. They know the attorney or the representative is going to handle all of the nuts and bolts, but they really want somebody to listen. They want somebody to give them a peace of mind. So you know what happens? You go to all these other people, because you don't go to them because you want somebody to tell you what you want to hear. You're going to these people for peace of mind. Because the reality is, this is a new phenomenon. You've never been through this, and if the powers that be are willing, you never go through this again. But trust me, it's your case. If it's your case, trust your instincts. If you have a representative, trust your representative's instincts. Don't start pulling in a whole bunch of people, because if you do, you'll drive yourself crazy.